Hello, and thank you for watching again. This will be a follow-up with Bingolly1, and I would like to talk a little bit about Revelation chapter 7. We're going to try to do this pretty quickly, but the first thing that I'd like to point out is you see the sealing of the 144,000 of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, I believe that this is a remnant that was promised that would be saved. After that, we see a multitude appear in heaven that no man can count, full of every tongue, every nationality, upon the face of the earth, holding palms in their hands. They have just come out of great tribulation. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. I believe this is none other than, again, another revelation of Jesus Christ, that the Gentiles have been grafted in. That's why we see them before the throne. Spiritually, it's not physical. John is in the Spirit when he goes to receive the rest of Revelation in 4:1, and he is witnessing again another revelation of Jesus Christ, that the Gentiles have been grafted in. And what better representation can we find than a group that is of all nationalities, of all kindreds, all tongues, that no man can number. The great tribulation they come out of is not a future tribulation. That's the great tribulation of the Old Testament, where the Gentiles were not accepted. And they have finally been grafted in. And so they've come out of great tribulation. And what have they done? They've washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Read it over in Isaiah where he says, broaden the tent, lengthen the cords, strengthen the stakes, because we will inherit the Gentiles. And that's prophesied over in Isaiah. And obviously the Gentiles have been grafted. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. So again, Revelation chapter 7, another revelation of Jesus Christ. And again, I'd like to say, and we'll get into this another time, but Revelation chapter 6 and chapter 7, take a comparison of that with Matthew 24. You'll notice, I believe the first, second, third, fourth seal lines up. The fifth seal, the sixth seal, the sun, moon, and stars is right there in both passages. Right after that, they're all mourning on the earth because they see the sign of the coming of the Son of Man in the heavens. That's in both passages. And then what happens right at the opening of Revelation 7, you see the angels standing in the four corners of the earth, holding back the four winds. And that's not physical winds. Read about the prophets in the Old Testament and how when they spoke, God was allowing the winds to blow. And at this point, he's not allowing them to blow. It's not physical winds. But you can, again, correlate that over with Matthew 24. When you get time, take Matthew 24 and compare that straight on down with Revelation 6 and 7. What does that mean, I believe? I believe that Matthew 24 is not only Jesus acting as a literal prophet, and he did prophesy the coming destruction in AD 70, of which the Christians fled the city when they had an opportunity, and the Roman army surrounded the city. But just as you read the Old Testament prophets, theirs is a double application, a dual application. There is a physical, yes, Babylon is coming to destroy you, and it did happen in the physical sense when Jeremiah would prophesy that. But there was also, as you read the Old Testament, you can see many spiritual applications to what is being taught in these prophetic warnings of the prophets. And the words are just so similar and the same as you read over in Revelation that there's no doubt to me that there is a spiritual application to this as well. And that's what we see also out of Jesus when he is acting as a prophet in Matthew 24. We don't have to wait for the future for him to come down and his feet being upon the Mount of Olives. And many are buried over on the Mount of Olives thinking that they're waiting for him to come back and that's where his feet will be placed. The Old Testament says that. You know why? Because his feet were on the Mount of Olives when he gave what is called the Olivet Discourse. That's over in Matthew 24. His feet were there. So, you know, those that are looking for him to come back and come to the Mount of Olives, you're going to miss it. He's already there. So, already been there. So, that's my interpretation. When you look at Revelation 6 and 7, compare that over again to Matthew 24. And again, see, one is at the mill, one is left, one is in the field, one is taken, one is left. That is correlated with what we see in the remnant of the Jews and what we also see in the Gentiles being grafted into the kingdom. These, again, I see the entire book as the revelation of Jesus Christ. And I see it as the revealing of him to Christians in a much clearer, much better way. You want to know what was accomplished when your Savior said it is finished at the cross? That all things were going to be fulfilled in that generation. When you see him say that it is finished at the cross, it indeed is finished. His job was complete. And we see outlined the many different accomplishments that he performed in God's master plan of redemption for mankind. And so we see Satan in the lake of fire. We see the heavenly Jerusalem coming down as a bride adorned for her husband. The church is the bride. We see the whore, Old Testament apostate Jerusalem, the faithful city, has become a harlot. We see her destroyed. We see the Gentiles grafted in Revelation chapter 7. We see Satan in torments as he currently is. We see death being wiped out. And we're speaking again of spiritual death for the Christian. These are all revelations of Jesus Christ. And though I don't have an answer for everything, and every little piece of every trumpet, I believe that those trumpets and vials are none other than, as he said against Israel when they come out of in Exodus, when Israel come out of Egypt, and he said, if you turn on me and worship other gods, I'll bring these same plagues on you that I brought on Egypt. We know the Old Testament is a shadow of the New Testament, that the physical things of the Old Testament are transpired in a spiritual way in the New Testament. These plagues that are brought down are spiritual plagues that were brought down on Israel, whether it be the water turning to blood, or whether it be the killing of the firstborn, which Jesus was the firstborn that was killed of them, whether it be the frogs that you see coming out, whether you see the darkness coming out. These are all plagues that were promised, some and most being over from Egypt, but in other parts of the Old Testament you can also read where God promised that he would bring these various other plagues that you read about in Revelation down on Israel. And these are spiritual plagues. Many are preaching that this is going to be some literal fire falling from the sky, that a great mountain burning with fire is going to be cast into the sea, that the sea is going to be turned to blood. And somehow these people want to interpret a nuclear weapon hitting, and they miss it. They miss it when they think the great riches that's come to naught of the whore of Babylon in Revelation 18, they think that that is a nuclear weapon hitting a city. That's not what that is. That's not physical riches coming to naught. That's the spiritual riches of the Jews being the chosen people, that now they, as a revelation of Jesus Christ, that whore has been destroyed, and for in 1 hour those great riches came to naught. What hour was that? That was the hour of the cross, when those great riches come to naught, for they know not what they do. Read the parable where the landowner lends the land out to some husbandmen, and when it's time to render the fruits, he sends his messengers, and they kill and they beat the messengers, and he finally sends his son and says they'll reverence them, and they say, this is the heir, this is the son, and they kill the son. What does the landowner do? He kicks them off the land, and he miserably destroys those men, and he gives it to others that will render him the fruit. That is symbolic of the Old Testament apostate Jerusalem, the whore of Babylon, and New Jerusalem, the bride of Christ. And now he's given it to New Jerusalem, to the church, the ones that do render him the fruits, the spiritual fruits that he has desired all along, not the ritualistic, habitual things that weren't from the heart. Now they have the real fruits that they're offering up. And when did he destroy those miserable men? After they killed the son. That's when he did it. Not when he killed the prophets, but when they killed the son, he kicked them off the land and he destroyed them. And that's when the whore of Babylon was destroyed, when they killed the son. And so it's all through the New Testament that Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killeth the prophets. It's impossible that a prophet die outside of Jerusalem. There's different passages referring to that. So again, it was Jerusalem that had the light of the candle in Jeremiah in several places, the voice of the bride, the voice of the bridegroom, the sound of the millstone, the light of the candle. They had those things. It was prophesied that they would lose those things, and they did lose them. You see the whore of Babylon, for in her is found no more the voice of the bride, the voice of the bridegroom, the light of the candle. These are simple references and passages that can be easily referenced right within this book itself.